Hello YouTube, Space Cowboy here. In this video, I'm going to be talking about variables, but this is just an introduction to variables. I'm actually going to be making several videos all about variables and the different things you can store in them and do with them. Hopefully the audio is a little bit better on this video. I had to boost the gain on my microphone, but anyways, what's a variable? It's used in programming to store data of various types, okay? So some people think of it like a box that stores some data. I'm going to introduce you to many different types that you can use in your programs. And in some programming languages, unlike Python, you actually have to specify the data type. You have to tell the program what kind of data you're storing in that variable. So for example, in Java, you have to tell the program you want to store an integer. So here is actually a variable that is being declared in Java. Int my_num gets assigned. Now I always avoid, when I see that single equal sign, I avoid saying equals, okay? Int my_num gets assigned 15. So don't think of this as the equals operator. When you're dealing with variables, think of it as the assignment operator. Now, when you're doing math, if you're having your program calculate something, then equals, yeah, it does work as an equal sign. But with variables, just start getting in the habit of saying this variable gets assigned, okay? So why in Java, why do you have to say what kind of data is going to be stored in that variable? Well, the computer needs to know how much memory that piece of data is going to need to be used. So, like for example, an integer, just a whole number, would require less data than a string of characters, right? So that's why in some languages you have to actually specify what kind of data you're storing in the variable, because they take up different amounts of memory. And you have to give it a good name. Now, I recommend giving it a meaningful name, okay? So I really try to avoid using X and Y. You will see me do it, but when I'm making an actual program, I try to give a very descriptive name. And in one of my videos, I'm going to talk about different ways you can name variables. All right, so this line, like I said, in Java, don't think that this is Python, this is Java. It declares, and when you see that word declare, it means to create. So here we declared or created an integer variable named my_num, and that's actually named using something called camel case. I'm going to talk about that when I make a video about naming variables. But in Python, you just need to give the variable a name and assign a value to it. So it's a little bit easier. Check out this. This is line 21. That is the same thing in Python. So in Java, you have to say int my_num gets assigned 15, semicolon. Don't forget semicolon memes. Those are really funny. But in Python, you can just say my_num gets assigned 15. Here I did my string gets assigned, and then it's a string because it's surrounded in double quotes, hello world. And then notice that I print those values, and then a new line after that. So let's run this code. The first things that should happen, it should print out a 15, and then it should print out hello world. And sure enough, it did, but it printed 3 and 4 down here, so it looks like I gotta continue talking just a little bit longer. Looks like we've got another 10 lines of code or so. So we're going to learn all about the different kinds of data types that we can store in variables. We're going to learn a lot about variables, like I said, in the next sequence of videos. Something to note, variable names are case sensitive, okay? So here I have two different variables, lowercase x and capital X, and those are technically two different variables. So notice lowercase x is currently assigned 3. I'm gonna do a variable reassignment here. I'm gonna reassign it to 5. Okay, do you see how it printed out 3, 4 before the first time I ran this? So this time it should print out 5, 4 because I'm reassigning the value that is stored in that variable. So first it gets assigned 3, then it gets reassigned 5, and this is just a separate variable because it's capital X. So let's take a look, and it did print out 5 4. All right. So that's just a brief introduction to variables. Like I said, we're gonna have kind of like a series of videos. The next 4 or 5 videos are all gonna be about variables. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.